tongue is numb, the current's clean, your dog is dead, it's a Ponzi screen. Ponzi screen, Ponzi screen, because it's just something to do.
Yeah, Gabe, you were telling us about how the tiny cupboard is now like the grizzly pear.
Oh, boys. I did the tiny cupboard last night. It was 40 degrees outside on this windswept rooftop. And I think if comedians keep doing live shows out there, we're all going to be dressed like the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
Just like, you know what I mean?
Because like when you're doing stand-up, you're supposed to wear like a black shirt, you know, and just like nothing, you know, that's like really would like draw attention to anything besides what you're saying. But
Yeah.
like, not everyone can afford like a pea coat. Like people are gonna have like these weird puffy ski jackets, and you know people are just gonna have like really like Night's Watch gear and stuff.
Yeah, just like pelts.
Yeah,
just like pelts made out of beavers that have been trapped in the Hudson River. And
or just like really real, like just like stuff that you got from like a secondhand store that you know that says like, you know, from some clothing brand that doesn't exist anymore. You know, like how did you get a coat that was made out of like a soda that doesn't? What's the name of the soda? Shit, sorry. What
Tab.
is that soda?
Tab is
soda.
now gone.
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you get a Tab soda coat? I don't understand how you did like.
Or like one of those waterproof dusters that you got from Marlboro. If you had like a million Marlboro miles, you could order one of those. Like we're
I'm just thinking about, man, David, that is supremely high fashion to have just like a huge trench coat with just like a giant Tab logo. So you walk around in the fashion district, someone be like, I will give you $10,000 for that coat. They'd love it.
The fashion district of Bushwick, certainly. I mean, it's like you have to have the look, and part of the look is no shorts and as little like signifiers as possible of really anything. And Gabe,
hashtag no logo, hashtag Naomi Klein.
Yeah.
So I was doing that show last night, and it's we're at the end of the season, I think. I am not foreseeing doing any more live shows after before this is going to come out, but on Mondays I was doing a backyard show in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
And we would have a temperature gun at the front. We would wear masks required the whole time, unless you're seated having a drink, and then we would socially distance all the chairs outdoors. So, but that's basically we're done doing live shows, and yet I'm seeing this thing that is so disturbing to me.
You know, temperature guns are canceled now, right?
Oh, well, dude, it's all cosmetics. It's all flim flam to make people feel better.
Oh, it's flim flam for sure.
Whatever gets you through the day, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to sleep at night.
Dude, it's like seatbelts on airplanes. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. It's like the nuclear test that the kids had to do in the 50s. They go under the desk. Like, come on. That's the problem with Hiroshima. Your desks weren't sturdy enough. That's why 80,000 people died. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is only good if the airplane is upside down. Like it's like someone has to literally come in there just sort of like for the temperature gun, and you're just gonna be like, get out.
Yeah. I mean, I just assume that if they wear the masks and we're outdoors the whole time and we're seated far enough apart, it doesn't matter if one person is riddled with the virus.
Riddled with Rona.
Riddled with Rona. It'll be fine. Those virus particles will get diluted in the open air outside.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm seeing now are shows are going underground. They're going indoors. And they're still socially distancing indoors. But I'm like, anytime I see a performer's name on a lineup for an indoor show, I'm like, cool, this dude failed middle school health class.
This indoor comedy show brought to you by Chabad Lubavitch, Hasidic Judaism.
Yeah. And comics have pushed back, though. A couple performers have pushed back. Some are like, well, you know, there's a risk to do anything. There's a risk to go outside. You might get hit by a car. There's a risk. What are you going to live your whole life in a cocoon wearing your diaper in your safe space, you little snowflake? And To that, I say, look, I'm a daredevil too. If I was at the beach right now and there were a bunch of people in the water and the lifeguard said, hey, there's a shark spotting, I'm still going in the water because that shark's not going after a little bony Tony like me. They're going after a thick snack. They're going after a heavy cream boy before they go after like little skeletal Gabe Pacheco.
Gabe has not gained a COVID-15.
No, if anything, I've lost weight through my inactivity. I've lost muscle mass. I'm just on this futon all day, like one of those Matrix human batteries. Like,
you're like a leg in a cast, just atrophying.
But like I said, I would get in the water if there was a shark. Okay, but this is the difference. If I wanted to hop into an Olympic-sized swimming pool to do a dozen laps, and somebody said, "Hey, man, a couple people just took squirty dumps in that pool." It's not a risk probability. It's 100%. I'm gonna get doo-doo particles all over my body.
Yeah.
So that's
also,
what doing
like,
an indoor show is.
Yeah, and also like to extend that analogy, like you having doo-doo on your skin affects other people too. Like you, like to really make that analogy fitting for the COVID era is like, are you gonna go swim 15 laps in a doo-doo swimming pool and then go be like a naked sushi model at a high-end restaurant? You know, where people are gonna eat sushi off of your doo-doo skin. Like you're not, because you are not only risking yourself, you're risking other people.
That's right. Like, I don't want to go, if I see your name on an indoor show lineup and I'm at the tiny cupboard and I see you and you try to get next to me and like close talk me, bro, no, that's hand to the face. It's not happening. Miss me with that.
Yeah, I would emphasize, as a person who hasn't done comedy since March and has a little bit of distance from it, is that like I could say with 100% certainty that like many comics are fucking stupid. Like they don't,
man.
like, the reason we get so far is because we're like the only, like D&D trait that is actually maxed out is like the charisma part. So it's like you could have people just saying utter horseshit, just vibing, riffing for an hour and saying nothing. So like when they're just like, I don't know, dude, I just don't think this is this, and you're just like, you're wrong.
This whole
you're wrong.
This whole like comedians as philosophers thing is truly showing its dark colors now. It's just like showing how wrong that was. Comedians are perverts. Comedians are like, don't work anywhere else. Like, you become a comedian because you cannot do anything else, or it's a way to help you stay sober without going to AA meetings. You don't become a comedian because like, oh well, I dropped out of my PhD program at Harvard, and this seemed like a more streamlined way to get the gospel out about.
This is the way I'm going to reach those kids.
Yeah, no, you're not going to reach those kids. You're a disgusting buffoon, and tell a fart joke. Like you're horrible. The people want to see you be horrible, and
man.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be on the wrong side of history. Like another thing too is, what if you get photos taken of you? It's documented that you're inside doing these shows. Now, 30 years from now, when people are studying the pandemic of 2020, and Ken Burns' grandson or granddaughter makes a documentary, do you really want images of yourself to be put out there? Like, and then these idiots continued to super spread everything in Stress Factory, like at an indoor show.
Yeah.
Kenny's
yeah.
Burns.
Oh, I mean, the true, just like Christopher Columbus, fucking psychos out there are the people who have like what I would call medium careers. Like they're doing stuff, like they do make money off of comedy.
Like 90% of comedians.
Well, I'm gonna say this is like the top 5%, maybe top 10%. Like they're making some money doing it, and they're saying, okay, well, there's no indoor shows in like the northeastern corridor of the United States or certain parts of the United States. So I'm going to do is get on a plane and go down to Florida or Louisiana or Texas, where there are no restrictions on going inside. And they're just like, time to fuck. Like, I'm going into Mordor, dude. I'm here. You know what's worth it to me? Making this $2,000.
And those
So I
Southerners hate them for doing this. They hate them
Carpetbaggers.
yeah,
Corona
Yeah.
carpetbaggers.
absolutely. Like they don't
It-
like you. You're bringing. You're literally a disease vector.
Yeah. I can't even remember if I mentioned this or not, but at one point in time there was, when we were probably in August or July, there was this one club in Oklahoma of all places that had like fucking Michelle Wolf, Louis C.K., like other like big names, and it was because like they were open and like those people were just sort of like, I don't care. I don't care. I'll kill people. I'll kill people. You know?
I just feel like, and I've also heard comics say, "What about money? You know, I need to pay the bills, and if the price is right, I'll do it." And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that before. You know, I've heard sex workers be like, "Yeah, if you pay enough, you could take the condom off." Like,
Right.
there's something really
Sure.
like, why would if the price is, why would you jeopardize your life just for some money
For rent.
for rent?
Yeah.
You
and
can
like and it gets into a weird nebulous zone. I mean, honestly, the people were like, I don't understand why they're doing it, but I can understand why it like looks murkier, because that's where their career is. Like, you have to get to like Kyle Kinane, like that, or somebody like around that area where it's just sort of like, okay, I've clearly invested 20 years of this, so how do I start making money? And then that's where you like literally you're like, all right, I'm talking to my agent, I'm going to start doing more I want to start doing more commercial work. I
Right.
can't do this thing right now where I'm like doing just where I'm just literally getting on a tube going 30,000 feet into the air and then going down to like fucking, like Knoxville, Tennessee, and then potentially killing myself and others. I have to do something else. But everybody else has to be like, all right, time to figure out what it means to do work again if you weren't already doing that. Like, don't kid yourself.
Look, John Mulaney got a TV writing job. Like, people adjust. This is not a difficult thing. Like, Gabe, okay, I have a question. How many
Yeah.
other people are competing with you guys on the Zoom comedy show thing? I don't see it that much as like a legit weekly show.
That's right. And well, I think a lot of people have not invested their energies into Zoom comedy because the weather was nice, and we're going to see a mushrooming now
Yeah.
of more Zoom shows, but they won't have the same track record of producing good events yet. Like, they're going to have, there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for now, everyone, come check out Funhouse Comedy because we've got the best Zoom show on the block. And our IG is Funhouse Comedy.
Have you
All
guys
one
have
word.
you guys like had an increased audience ship?
We had a huge audience. It's been a roller coaster. So right at the beginning, we had much more audience when people were scared
Yeah.
to go out,
Right.
and then during the summer it dropped off, and now it's picking back up.
Right.
And all of that's understandable because it's
Yeah.
like, if it's nice out, why not go for a walk after work instead of like sitting on your laptop for longer?
Right.
Yeah, people really have an opportunity here to not only do stand up, online, but I mean, if you're a kind of a weird multimedia comic or some version of that, fucking the sky is the limit, baby. You could, if you're, wait, who's that guy who's dating Abby Bryant or from SNL, who's insane? Connor O'Malley. Yeah, if you're a Connor O'Malley type, this is the ultimate sandbox where you can like literally do the weirdest, strangest bits that you've ever done that would be kind of hard to do in person. But if you like set up your own like backdrop, your own your
Right.
own multimedia setup on your end, and then they're like, all right, now coming to the stage is this person. It's like doing a one-act play, and that's like
Right.
a huge. That's really entertaining.
Stand up is not the only medium for comedy, and that's kind of like what we were saying before we were recording. Is like stand up is a bar trick. Like it is one way to do comedy. There is also like people who are professional comedians largely don't just do stand up. Chappelle did sketch comedy. That's how he got big. His stand up was big.
Yeah.
It came after he was doing acting and sketch comedy, from what I understand at least. Like this is one of many things that you should be able to do. And people who are not pivoting to other things, for example, the greatest comedic medium of all time, financial journalism, podcasting, then you need to figure out what else is out there,
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be incredibly interesting to watch who, for lack of a better word, innovates, and then the people who are just sort of like, no, the only reason I did this is so I could say slurs on stage. No,
Right.
You know what the right pivot is, boys? The right pivot is going into coaching. Professional coaching online with my elite YouTube series.
Yes, yeah, seamless, utter seamless.
Yeah.
If you can't write a
Yeah.
joke, it's best to become a coach for helping people write jokes. That's the way to do it.
Well, what I've started to do, I'm starting a coaching school for other people that want to coach people who maybe want to coach people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because that's really where it's at. It's not about it. We now live in an experiential economy. It's not about having material things. It's about developing yourself and having mind-blowing interactions with chill-ass coaches like me.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to create a network, a consortium, if you will, of coaches like Gabe, and take in 5%, if that's cool. I'm just gonna, I'm just
Wow.
gonna connect you to all the coaches of coaches, if that's okay with you, Gabe. That's
Do you know what I'm really into? Passive incomes. And Ronald Reagan talked a lot about a trickle down economy, but what I'm getting at right now is a trickle up economy. If everybody trickled up 5% of what they make to the top of this coaching pyramid,
yeah.
we
To
all
me.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need you to pump this water up, physically up.
Now, I think you all are skeptical because you two are on the first floor and I'm on the second floor, but we're building something that's great. We're building something that's mind-blowing. We're looking for like
we have a proprietary technology that is not technically patented, but is emotionally patented by us, that we are selling to you in this exclusive offer to become a member, to join the experience of a lifetime in a network of professionals like you to optimize your synergy in growing your potential.
Oh
That's
my
right.
God. You gave me you just gave me an aneurysm, David. That's, oh my God.
And by technology, I'm talking about this writing prompt.
Yeah.
It certainly isn't a satellite.
Which is
or,
called Dating is Hard. Yeah.
Who's swiping?
Yeah.
Your first prompt. Who is swiping?
Yeah, okay, everybody. You're going to have 15 minutes to free write on this prompt. And now this is a copywritten prompt, and you can't use this technology unless you're doing it with me. Ready? The prompt. Women be shopping. Discuss.
Right.
Also,
Right.
yeah, if you bring every time you tell that joke, you automatically owe Gabe 5%, but you actually owe, because I am controlling the consortium, you actually owe Gabe 5%, me 15%, and because Danny is actually the owner of the emotional intellectual property, you owe him 20% of all of your bar show earnings that you make from Women Be Shopping.
Now, David and Danny, because of the fact that you two got in on the ground floor of this amazing opportunity, and you're the second level of what we'll call the golden pyramid here, I'm actually not going to publish or write anything, and I'd like to step away from the limelight and have the two of you kind of just talk about how amazing I am. and
Yes.
and whatever technologies that the gospel that you spread,
Yeah.
you know,
Techno
you're
gospel. Yeah.
you're the techno gospel of achievement and
Mhm.
whatever, helping the world through your own selfishness, which is
Yes. Yes. I like to think of I like to think of Gabe as in some ways kind of like a Saint Paul, you know, in the sense that
Mhm.
he is spreading the word of someone who died. But the person who died is actually alive, and that person is actually Danny Feltz.
Mhm.
And in some
I'm alive.
ways, what was amazing about Saint Paul, and in really a lot of ways, was like Gandhi and Einstein before him. Uh, he saw the potential in every single one of us as being interconnected to the potential of him, and
Yeah.
Now,
his growth was actually everyone else's growth. And even if he grew to the detriment of other people, him growing was actually their growth simultaneously, even when they shrank.
Now, you know what I love is that you brought up one of our unsung heroes and prophets, someone that not enough people study, Einstein.
Yes.
Now-
Everybody's pupils are the size of dinner plates. Everybody, there's an insane look on the Zoom call right now. It's just getting fostered.
Danny, you haven't unlocked your potential yet, okay?
Mhm.
Because you think what is your body made up of? Atoms.
Yeah.
What's
Water.
and what happens?
Water.
What happens when you split an atom, baby? You can irradiate an entire amount of power inside of you.
Unleash.
You could unleash power that could destroy a city with hundreds of thousands of people,
Yes.
or power that could light up all of the skylines in
Mhm.
the United States of America. That
Danny-
power is inside of you, Danny.
Danny, if
Yeah.
you join our program, you can blow up a city.
Yeah.
That's what we're promising you with this program. With this comedy coaching network infrastructure system.
What you have to do is we're going to take you up to the exosphere, the area right before the Earth turns into space. We're going to strap you to a bunch of boulders, and as we all know, you know, that mass, once it reaches a critical velocity, will make it so when you hit the ground, you'll make a crater that will send up a gigatons of ash into the atmosphere,
Much like
and
the-
then blot out the sun.
Much like the plot of Armageddon, this concept is foolproof and perfect.
What are we
Yes.
talking about today, boys? We are talking about Keith Raniere and the NXIVM cult.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I didn't even know how to pronounce that for the longest time. And I think I prefer it when people just spell things out the way they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Like
Yeah.
MGMT.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, exactly like that.
NXIVM.
Yeah,
So
NXIVM.
If it weren't a cult, then it definitely would have been like a 2012. What was the name of that subgenre that was dubstep? Oh my god, you guys! Oh yeah, I thought this was a dubstep DJ. Anyways,
subgenre, what are you talking about? That's all I that's my primary motivating music when writing out my bits.
new Ponzi Scream theme song. It's just
Yeah.
dubstep.
Wah, 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 wah.
That's what I listen to when I'm walking down the street, and you can see me like just sort of like jolting and moving around like the spider from Wild Wild West. Just
Yeah.
like
So
I didn't watch The Vow, which has been on TV lately, but I did read this this article in the Paris Review called "The Corporate Feminism of NXIVM," and it came out October 29th, 2020, and it was written by Alice Bolin.
mhm.
So I just
Shout out to Alice.
shout outs to Alice, man. I really liked her writing, and I thought this was a perfect article for Ponzi Screen because it's got all of these elements to it that we kind of tackle, and it's it's a bouillabaisse with all of the elements, right? It's like there's personal growth seminars,
Oh yeah.
there's multi-level marketing schemes,
Oh yeah.
there is There is also it is a Ponzi scheme.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a bunch of rich people who were duped and
yeah.
exploited. A lot of people lost their money.
Oh yeah.
And it's also sort of critiquing corporate feminism, or this concept of post-feminism, which Alice brings up multiple times in this
Right.
piece. So
Well, I mean, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because when I think of Ponzi scheme, I mean, we are kind of like we're inspired by the Lean In book. You know, I mean, which I found that a little hurtful. You know, some of these criticisms were cut a little too close to home. Because I just feel like we are corporate feminism in a lot of ways. So
yeah, I had to
Mm,
cover up
mm,
my
mm.
Sheryl Sandberg a portrait that I have on my bicep
Yeah.
while reading this.
So
yeah.
let's first go into Gabe. Can you tell us what is NXIVM and what?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to. So there was this guy named Keith Raniere, and he was recently found guilty on 7 counts of racketeering and sex trafficking.
Oh yeah.
And this, so sad. And this month, he was sentenced to 120 years in prison.
Oh yeah.
So
Old Keith Mount Rainier.
what was he? What was he doing? Our boy started this this cult that really preyed upon wealthy women. That was like the main demographic that he was going after, and he got his start as an Amway salesman in the 80s. So
Nice.
he picked up a lot of his techniques from the multi-level marketing culture, you know.
Right.
And NXIVM, they provided what they called like technology, like
Right.
the lessons and they were,
That's right.
as it says
That's
here
right.
in the article, it's like a proprietary blend of therapeutic models cribbed from cognitive behavioral therapy, Scientology, Ayn Rand's theory of objectivism, multi-level marketing sales techniques, and neuro-linguistic programming.
Oh
This
yeah.
is hilarious. This is Uber being like, we're not a ride sharing service. We're a technology company. No. We're not a sex cult. All right. We're just making people better at the workplace.
So they had this thing called the Executive Success Program. Was kind of that was the technology that they were selling, which is what Gabe was describing. Was the blend of all of the cool things that we all love.
Yes, and in a lot of ways, like I've heard stuff like this before. If you've ever done like a landmark seminar, they have like the executive training weekend, or so you can find self-improvement seminars like this all over the place, and they always offer an elite program. Once you go through the basic program, you can join up for even more money to get higher up in the hierarchy.
I watched spoiler alert, I watched like the first 3 episodes of The Vow, and they have these like little what are these called? Like little scarves. Like that you get at a graduation, if you have like honors or whatever. They're kind of like those, and those
Like
signify your rank basically in it. And so you go from student, then you become a proctor, and then you become a senior proctor, and I think there's one more in between it. And there's like all these little, it's like a karate belt basically, and you're wearing it all the time, and you get little stripes on your karate belt, and you're wearing it around you, and that's your way of showing your ability to communicate and be a proctor for these ESP programs. And what it is they oftentimes, it's like an interview where you'll bring someone onto the stage, and everyone's around, they're watching you, and basically you just get the proctor to ask the student questions about their life. It's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, who is your childhood mentor? Who do you regret burning at some point in your life? And basically, it takes people who have been so alienated by their careers and in their lives, who have never been asked like meaningful questions. No one has ever asked someone like, how are you? You know what I mean? And that's kind of one of these like
yeah.
I mean, that's like basically what this ESP program is you pay $2,000 to $10,000 per seminar or whatever for someone to ask you how you're doing. And that's the majority of this proprietary technology, and it makes people feel so good because, especially for people who are like in the arts, living in Los Angeles, it's so cutthroat. You don't have any real friends. You don't trust anyone. You've been picked up and chewed out, spit out by the music or entertainment industry. You have no one, and so you're going to spend all of your disposable income to join a community of people who are like you and actually want to know how you're doing.
That's right. And the higher the price is, the more I would say that you are invested in the wishful thinking. You know,
right.
There's a sunken cost fallacy, right? If I don't pay anything, if you say, hey, this is a free show, and I come in, then my expectations are very low.
Right.
But if I pay $1,000 for it, my brain is gonna work really hard to rationalize me coming to this event.
Right. There's actually like I've heard like anecdotal evidence of people who are like trying to like sell real estate or cars or like wine to like Saudi royalty and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I don't know who told me this. But like probably at a bar, right? Like that basically the people who were lowballing were doing terribly. But if whoever was offering the highest price was doing the best because
That's
these
right.
people don't know anything about wine, don't know anything about the experience. They just want the price tag, and they assume the price tag means the best thing. That's the same thing with these like wealthy Angelinos who don't know what real friendship is, and so they're just going to pay the highest price tag, assuming that more money equals more friendship.
Yeah. Plus their brain is all just like is rewired in a weird way. It's like this isn't 1930 where it's like if you spend $10,000 on anything, you're gonna get like a 3,000-pound milling machine or like a car or something that has like actual functional mechanical use. You're paying $10,000 for an experience.
Right.
So your brain is all miswired and just sort of like, oh, I spent all this money, but it's like, no, you can leave. This isn't like you're trapped with this big thing. You're not trapped in this experience.
Well, Gabe, are they
So,
trapped?
They are so trapped.
They feel trapped. They feel very trapped.
There's a bunch of things that I wanted to touch upon, but we can talk about the coercive elements of this. The first coercive element of this is that with all of these programs where you have to disclose things about yourself to accelerate intimacy among strangers, your people are giving away their valuable information, right? They are
they're classic Scientology.
They're set right. So in Catholicism that would have been confession. What makes you think that the priest is gonna keep you keep what you say confidential? That's just stop snitching on yourself. But then in Scientology they have auditing, right? So the auditing, they would record people giving confessions. In NXIVM, they would women who joined would have to send compromising photos of themselves, right? They'd have to send nudes.
Yeah, so this is this is the weird thing about it is that NXIVM has like its whole like executive success program, and where Rainier really got in trouble. This is what the show was kind of saying, is that he got in trouble. There was this offshoot of it because the ESP program had like all these different little groups. There's like a men's honor program, and then there was like like an athletes program. There's like all these different offshoots that people could join, and one of them was the secret sorority where women had to send, quote, collateral, which was the blackmail, and in order to gain access to this sort of thing. That's what Gabe's talking about. It was called collateral for some reason.
I mean, and gangs work like this too, right? It's like you got to do dirt to get into the gang. What's your initiation? Are you sexed in, or do you murder somebody to get in? Did you commit an act of violence? Something where everyone has that on you now.
Yeah, I mean, we had that for Ponzi Scream, so.
Yeah. Stop snitching.
Stop snitching.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh, those photos I sent over were so compromising. Cut to just a picture of me just like going like, hey.
Yeah. So To quote the article, it says, how were over 100 women convinced to join a secret organization where from the beginning they were called slaves, forced to collateralize their commitment with naked photos and secret confessions, and vow loyalty to their masters for life. And then it says one answer is that many of these women had already internalized the belief that they were weak and spoiled and had no ability to work for anything. So this kind of goes back to like the demographic, you know, every cult or whatever your organization is, you have to figure out who your clients are and then tailor your message to those clients. And it says the story. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about that in the documentary. Like the whole thing is like when you're training to become a proctor, like they are like, oh, we recognize that this is manipulative and misleading, but it's for good because the ESP program is good for people. People need to be misled into this program. And that's like the ideology that they're kind of creating. And one thing that's very strange about it is that they keep going back to like, don't have a victim mentality, have confidence in yourself. And the whole thing is just saying like, write that novel, write that screenplay, just do it. And like, but really what people end up doing is you end up getting into this program where you are, quote, given the confidence to write it, but you don't actually end up writing it. You end up joining the program.
Do you know what, man? My coach, my master in this program, really taught me a lot about coaching and being a master. And what I think I want to do is when I started, I thought I wanted to write a script. But what I really realize now, my calling is to help other people get into this program.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no. Literally where they're trying to do one thing and then it's just sort of like, no, let's just take that motivation and just move it over here so it can help me.
So when they start getting into like talking about this like master slave stuff, like they'll be like, don't have a victim mentality. This is all part of the sorority. Like this is not by you criticizing this, that's you embracing the victim mentality.
That's right.
It's like
honestly, David, you talking about being my slave, that's a pretty victimized mentality.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're talking about being my slave like that. It's pretty negative of you.
At a certain point, this is like all right-wing Randian ideologies. You are only have a victim mentality when you are doing something that disagrees with Rainier. If you are doing something that agrees with Rainier, you are alpha. If you're doing something that disagrees with them, you are a cuck, basically. And that's kind of what he's putting in people when they're criticizing the master sex slave relationship.
Right. Well, he had this there's a misogyny to the message, right? But the misogyny to the message was perfectly tailored to his targets. So it's like one quote here was, but this is the story of a sheltered upbringing. The story of a sheltered upbringing was true for some women, and I can imagine that the child actors and heiresses of NXIVM, when Rainier derided the women as spoiled princesses, it felt personal. Right, so like Sarah Bromfman, who was an heiress to the Seagram fortress, fortune.
I love that.
Right, like she's like a multi-millionaire, and she said, it's quoted, "Coming from a family where I never had to earn anything before in my life, it was a very, very moving experience." Right, to be part of this NXIVM thing because she felt like she was earning things by her own merit.
Yeah,
right.
We're gonna need your ties to help us get linked up with the precious 7-Up consortium.
Right.
What makes these people such perfect specimens for this, and perhaps why Los Angeles is like home to so many of these multi-level marketing schemes, is the fact that there is such a demographic of people who have insane amounts of unearned income, recognize that they have unearned income, feel like they've done nothing with their lives, and feel completely alienated by society otherwise. And this makes them a perfect target for something like this.
It feels like a secular version of the prosperity gospel. You know, when you prosperity gospel, you'll see like even Donald Trump, he he listened to this guy, Reverend Vincent Peale, who wrote basically
yeah.
The Power of Positive Thinking.
Oh yeah.
You know, and this is a secular version of that, right? That's like mixing all of these things that are, you know, prosperity gospel is trying to weave capitalism and spirituality together,
Cool.
right?
Yeah.
Just like Jesus wanted. Just like Jesus.
Yeah. Just what he wanted.
But
Mhm.
it says here you have there's another quote here, which is the people joining NXIVM would say things like, "I pledge to ethically control as much of the money, wealth, and resources of the world as possible within my success plan." Right, and the idea was that if you uh, have all of these resources, then you can do something good for the world with them.
Mhm.
Right. So,
Yeah,
like, let me become a superhero by hoarding all of this wealth so that I can do good with the wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so wild because, you know, cults are obviously not a new thing in the 20th century. But this one feels so different because, you know, if you have like the Branch Davidians and what's the guy who had the sunglasses who went down to
Jim
die?
Jones,
Jim Jones,
the People's
that's right.
Temple.
The People's
Mhm.
Temple. You got those cults, but they're like largely poor, and like the only way they were able to get by is like they would have like one or two like wealthy people in it, but it was like very minimal, and then, you know, one bankroller. But this is so bizarre and like hyper real because large swaths of the people involved have like all this expendable cash, you know.
What this reminds me of more is like Wild Wild Country, like is it the Rajneeshis? Is
Yeah.
that, you know?
Osho.
Yeah, with Osho. I mean, that is demographically who we're talking about, and that was kind of like in the '80s of this like pseudo spiritualism, embrace of capitalism, have kind of like a free love ideology to a degree. Like Nexium didn't really have that on its face, but this kind of secret sex society that, by the way, like the documentary goes into like these women were branded, literally were branded with like a
Mhm.
branding iron to join this sex cult society, and like the people at the very top were like all given the privilege of having sex with Keith, right? So like it was they were doing a lot, right? But it really reminds me a lot of that sort of group and milieu, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this article kind of it talks a little bit about this idea of corporate feminism, and
Yeah.
that all of this was intimately linked to the perverted corporate feminism the group preached, which held that the success of elite women would trickle down to more marginalized women, all the while ensuring the opposite was true. Corporate feminism is one brand of white feminism, and they are both the close
Yeah.
conferees of post feminism, an enfeebled feminist marketing that gained ascendance in the 90s by emphasizing consumer freedom, lifestyle choice, especially the choice to conform to traditional gender norms, and the
Yeah.
Totally.
success of women within the capitalist framework.
Totally.
Yeah, the one of the funniest quotes here is how like the like so the people who were like involved in like some of the worst abuses were like, I think they say they were part of like a club or whatever that was like the badass bitch club. You know, that was like, yes, this is the group that is sexually assaulted by by Keith Raniere. Like that's insane, you know.
Right, right. I mean, so you see these like with any cult, you see what would it be? Decent initial impulses perverted and refocused by the manipulative dude at the top. Like the
Right.
idea of women getting together and creating like sororities, it's great.
Right.
But when it's all focused towards fulfilling the sexual appetites of like a lazy pathological liar at the top of the pyramid, that's, you know, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
I mean, it's like the
That's never
show
good.
the little like subcult of NXIVM was DOS or whatever, the dominant and submissives or whatever sorority. They still had this like oppression, replicating this oppression hierarchy onto things, because it was like, but it was somehow woke to do that because women were doing it to each other.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like, is kind of the crux of it, is you're not, just because women are doing it is not make it woke inherently. Oppression is still oppression. And really at the top of it anyways is still a man. Like it's not even really that feminist.
Yeah, he's the little point. He's the little point at the very tippy top of the pyramid, you know?
Right. And he did a really good job of this having his early adopters be the face.
Right.
You know, it says here that he really didn't write anything. People didn't hear his personal message often. It was the women who were at the top of the like the second layer of the pyramid, kind of hyping him up. So getting that validation from powerful women then creates this mystique.
Right.
That's why when I start my own cult, I want you two to be the early adopters that really spread the message.
I'm ready.
Will I nap on my futon?
Well, it's a clever way to like launder narcissism, to say that it's someone else's idea, right? Like
that's
like
right.
That's like the ultimate. Like, why didn't Malcolm X get killed? Because he became bigger than Elijah Muhammad, and everyone knew it at a certain point. Like, yeah, it's the same thing with St. Paul and Jesus. Like, you have the messenger be the one who's saying, it's like, no, I'm not a narcissist spreading this insane ideology. The real prophet is dead, actually, or is old and enfeebled and can't talk. Or the real prophet is this guy, Keith Rainier. But I'm going to speak for him and show how I am a success story. And the charismatic leader actually kind of displaces their charisma into a proxy in order to kind of allow for both parties to not come across as egomaniacs.
Yeah, that's right. It was like when in Russia, when Stalin, when Lenin died, he immediately became like a giant saint, and it was easy for Stalin to hide behind, well, I'm just doing Leninist things right now.
Right.
Or you see that with the Republican Party becoming the cult of Ronald Reagan. Like, it's very easy to hold him up as this saint now that he's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's probably going to happen with Trump, realistically, right? Like,
dude, 100%. In 20 years, people are going to be like, "Well, Trump didn't get us into any wars."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most interesting part of this story is, like, you know, it absolutely culminates in like a horrific, you know, like, this is insane, you know, thing. But it really does just starts with good old fashioned financial what's the word you're always saying? Chicanery.
Yeah, baby. Chicanery.
I mean, like, that was the most bizarre part, where they're like, he starts off doing pyramid scheme shit. The state of New York says you are not allowed to do this anymore in like 1996 or 7 or something like that. And then he immediately breaks that and says, I'm going to start another pyramid scheme. That sounds like I love this triangle.
Yeah, baby.
Hell yeah. So takeaways, my friends. I'll start with mine. Don't join any cults. and prosperity gospel is always wrong.
My takeaway is, if you see yourself in what's called a high pressure group, you might be a cult member.
Yeah. This is actually kind of connects with this book that I'm reading, just sort of randomly. It's called Born for Love. I think Born for Love or Born to Love or something like that. And it's a book about empathy, essentially. And one of the things that it sort of talks about is this idea that, like, there's been this big idea for a really long time, especially in Darwinism, that, like, the people who are the most intense and competitive and what have you. That's Darwinism. Those people, they rise to the top, and then that idea sort of gets that idea sort of gets distilled into Ayn Rand, who was somebody that Keith Raniere was like, apparently read or was just espousing. Like his ideas are very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
But in this book that I'm reading, it's basically in recent years, there's become this much more nuanced picture of what that mindset actually is, which is pretty wrong. It basically says to that, being empathic and being good for society and not just selfish for yourself is good. It's good to be
Yes.
altruistic, and it's not saying that you should basically go throughout your life and just be a doormat for people. They've basically, there's been not studies, but there's lots of like tests and statistical studies that have shown, like, if you're just a doormat, that's not how kind of society progresses and what have you. And also, it doesn't progress in this sort of like tit for tat, like, and we should always just be like swindling and grifting each other. It really hones in on the idea that, like, it's actually pretty decent and good to help people, even though there's this idea that Darwinism is the idea that the strongest should get to the top,
If-
and like the whole mantra and the whole idea that Ayn Rand proposes, where it's like we have to be singularly selfish, and all that stuff. It's really just fucking it's fucking debunked. It's stupid. And always remember that stupid asshole died in like a community home, like literally sucking off the teat of the state, something she abhorred,
Yeah. I mean, if you have to pay for friends, you might be in a cult.
Yes, yeah,
I mean, it's just like this is I really actually do very much pity these people, the Seagram's heiress, in a lot of ways. It's like, obviously she's a very wealthy white woman and stuff like that, but like, this person didn't earn their fortune, and they're just looking for meaning in this world.
yeah.
They're just they don't know, and they're so like tied up in understanding value as being strictly commodified that they cannot escape that prism and see that no, a real friendship and like community of people would not require $2,000 to $10,000 per session or class or whatever. They can't see that. And the rich and the poor are all kind of can get easily kind of targeted by this sort of ideology. That I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is no we are a social animal. Humans
Yeah.
need each other, and you don't need money and this individualist ethos that created your material circumstances, perhaps for like the Seagram's people. But we are a group of people that I don't know. We are I don't know. That's
Well, the success win lifestyle is something that we should all be touting as debunked. Whenever Kevin Hart says, "All right, guys, we hustle hard. This is how we got here," etc., etc., like, okay, I'm glad that you're maybe one of the most successful comedians in the world now. Shut the fuck up about that shit.
But that's,
All
and
right?
actually bringing it back to comedy, I think, is a really interesting analog, because like stand up. Okay, so people will often asking me like, what's better, stand up or improv? And I would usually say like, of the 100 best comedic performances of all time, 95 of them are stand up comedy, but the top 5 are those just like lightning in a bottle improv shows that just happen to be the funniest things you've ever seen. Most of the
Yeah.
time it's stand up, but when you can get a group effort of doing improv, it's a really, really nice thing. And stand up is one of the most alienating art forms to participate in. Watching it is really great, and when you're doing it, you're doing really well. You're soaking it all in. You do the whole thing, but life as a performer off stage is incredibly alienating, and that is, I don't know. It's you think about sorts of people who would be prone to schemes and scams, and someone who's pursuing stand-up comedy is precisely that kind of person, and that's why so much of the comedy industry is exploitative itself.
Hey, friends, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling alienated, if you feel like no one's listening to you or understands your struggle, maybe it's just time for you to man up and join my elite comedy coaching pyramid.
Yeah. Or, yeah. That's the right takeaway. It's
$1,000 a sesh. Okay.
Yeah.
But aren't you worth it? How much money did you waste on college?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you continue to learn and educate yourself with my program?
Yeah. If you could have gotten into MFA and stand-up, you would have. But here we are. This is basically an MFA in stand-up comedy.
And it's a bespoke one, too. Everyone gets their own personal, handcrafted curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to perform at one of the hottest clubs in the entire world, Stage 72. On 80 on Columbus and 72nd Street. That's your graduation package.
No.
It's a bringer show at that show.
It's the hottest club, literally. It is 100 degrees in this club. Everybody's in there. We're sweating. We're really feeling it out. We're in an enhanced bodily relationship with our laughter. It stinks in here.
Delicious.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's thanks for sending that along, Gabe. That was a really interesting article. She also kind of talked about Amy Coney Barrett a little bit. But that's kind of that's for your own eyes. Check that out, people who are listening.
We'll post it in the show notes. The article.
Yeah, literally, if you are the heiress to a gin company and you feel bad that you've never done anything with your life, I promise you, you could just go out into the street with $100 bills and give them to homeless people. If you have millions of dollars to your name, it's not hard to give away that money in a way that isn't giving $10,000 to a cult. You could just do it. It's real easy.
Or join DSA, everyone. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. This has been Ponzi Scream. I'm David.
Yeah, I'm Gabe.
I'm Danny, and join my. Please give me that $100. I really need it.
Oh, follow us on Twitter, Ponzi_Scream, and we have a Facebook group as well. Join that as well, and also listen.
Ask us a question. Ask us a question.
Reach out to us. Talk to us. We want to hear from you about what your cult relationship has been. Okay.
Oh, how about this? If you leave a 5-star review, I'll make you a tiny little bag with a zipper on it. How about that?
Oh.
How about that? I'm not above bribing the listeners. How about that?
Leave a review.
A
review.
All right. Thanks so much.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.